Hey everyone, welcome back to Foster and Grow. We've got another beautiful how-to video to present to you today.
Yeah, so today we'll be talking about how to make a kokedama. So the koke stands for moss and dama stands for ball.
Yeah, so as Jared's saying, it is a Japanese form of living art, extremely versatile because you can place kokedamas both inside or outside, and you can also hang them or place them flat on, say, a table or windowsill. So yeah, buckle up and get ready to learn how to make a kokedama.
So today you will need a pair of gloves, secateurs or a pair of scissors, a plant, so in this case we've chosen Aeonium Red Edge, string, sphagnum moss, 1/3 peat moss, as well as 2/3 of your normal soil mixture.
Yeah, so as Jared was mentioning, you do need to have a mixture of 1/3 peat moss to 2/3 normal soil, and that's just as simple as mixing. We've got 6 handfuls of normal soil in there, and then we just pop in a couple of extra handfuls of peat moss. This actually helps to aerate the soil, which will help it retain a bit of moisture. So, pretty crucial for the mix. Yeah, just make sure that's mixed through well, and then you've got your soil mixture ready. Right, so now I'm going to tip the soil into another container. So what we've actually got to do is wet the soil so it's got a mud-like consistency, and we want to slowly add the water so that we don't add too much, because if we add too much it's going to be not handleable, so we won't be able to make this beautiful kokedama ball. So we'll just quickly get into it. So you can see it's sort of letting me make it into a ball now. And yeah, essentially the first step of it is to make a ball. Yeah, so now once we've completed our mud ball of the soil, we need to select our plant. So we've got an Aeonium Red Edge because they're quite a versatile plant in most locations. So we'll just give the actual pot a bit of a squeeze just to expose the root ball. So it's actually quite a decent size. And the ball needs to be large enough to contain this root ball. So we're going to try and break that down. You can see size-wise it's reasonably similar to the pot it was in, so it's probably just large enough. And yeah, we just continue doing that until we've got it down to mostly just the roots, and then we can move on to the next step. Great, so now we've actually got to make sure our ball is large enough to contain the roots of the actual plant, and you can see it's probably just a little bit too small, so I've got to continue to make that ball a little bit larger. So she's split apart there, so I'll just keep going. Hopefully this is big enough now. Probably just that tiny bit bigger again. So again, I'll just have to add a little bit more water. Whoops, making a mess. So obviously the bigger the plant, the bigger the ball's going to have to be. So you do see it does actually, you've got to squish it quite well to get it together. You can see all the liquid coming out, but we just continue to do that. Quite a good workout actually. So now hopefully it's a little bit bigger. What do you reckon, is that big enough? Okay, so as you could see before, my root ball was not quite large enough, so I'm going to have to quickly add some more water again. A bit more. And this time I'm actually going to make a second ball, so it'll be a little bit better this time. The larger the plant, the bigger the ball, and the more challenging it is, so you do have to have decent amounts of patience to do this. So squeeze him nice and hard. And then I'll try and get the second ball so it's big enough. Oh, more mess. Yeah, don't use your best tablecloth when you're doing this. Okay, and now, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll just make a tiny little divot. And now try and capture it in the middle. So, it's pretty challenging, but we can always add a little bit more to the sides. And we're getting pretty close now. All the roots are covered. And then we'll be able to move on to the next step. Great, so now we're up to the next step. So that involves this sphagnum moss. So that will come in a container like this, or a bag. We've already moistened some and popped it in this little container because you will need to wear a mask when you're actually handling the dry stuff. So crucial, wear a mask because you do get little bits of particulates that can go up your nose, particles. And then all you'll do with the actual wet sphagnum moss, lay it down in a tray. Just move that out of the way. So just pop that down in a tray, about 2.5 centimeters thick, maybe 1 inch. And then essentially all we're going to do is wrap or roll the actual soil ball in the sphagnum moss. So I think it's wet enough. I'll just pick up the ball, bring him over, and then we'll do it like this. And then we're sort of just pushing up that sphagnum moss around the actual soil. So again, you'll have to squeeze quite tightly. Just got to get that front bit in. And the other critical thing is to make sure there's some on the base. So it looks like there is some there. And then essentially once we've done that, we can start wrapping it in the jute. Okay, so now we've got to get our jute string underneath our Kokedama ball. So critical thing is to give yourself enough length to be able to place that underneath the Kokedama ball and be able to tie a knot in it. So just move this other stuff out of the way. And now hopefully I might be able to pick him up. And essentially just try and tie a knot. So I'm going to take these gloves off because it'll be much easier for me with them off. And the key thing is to not go too close to the top of the plant, but close enough to secure it. And then if you see any of the actual soil exposed, you can just still add a little bit more of the sphagnum moss. So hopefully done one there, and I'll try and go around another way, underneath and above, and then I'll just try and get it through again. It's a little bit fiddly, but you'll get the hang of it. And I'll just tie that again. So now, hopefully we've got enough string on there to start wrapping that, and that'll be the next step. Yeah, so now we'll just continue to wrap the Kokedama in the jute. So let the fun begin. So I want to go reasonably tight, and probably the best thing to do is actually pick him up.
Why is that, Gareth?
Just because it's easier to handle that way. Oh, he's missing a little bit there, you can see. So probably got to jam a little bit more around that. Just gonna pull that off, re-put it back on, reapply, and then just continue wrapping through the base. And then up towards the top, and then down and around. And then again, don't get too close to the top of the plant because you might strangle it almost. And from now on, we just continue doing this for hours. Anyway. Fantastic. So as you can see, we've kept the ball shape of the Kokedama whilst also leaving a flat enough base for it to sit on a table or maybe a windowsill. And I also quickly added in a little bit of sphagnum moss just underneath the plant, just to hide any sort of soil that was in there. Just poke that in with the knife. And now the last thing for me to do is actually to cut it and make a knot to tie it off. So I'll quickly just do that. Other things to be wary of whilst actually wrapping the Kokedama is to be, obviously be wary of the actual plant. I did break a little bit of a leaf off, but all in all that's not too bad. And now, fingers crossed, I might get this a little bit further around. And now it's just a matter of me finding a bit of the jute that I can actually tie that to. It's actually better if you get a crochet hook, something like that, because then you can get further down. But then it's as simple as just making sure that it's tied, so it doesn't matter what sort of knot, as long as it's reasonably. It's hard for you to see that probably. reasonably tight. Yeah, so I'll just make sure I get the last little bit done at the base. Just grab that and poke him in and under and through, hopefully. This is a bit of a challenge, but we'll get there. Beautiful, and there you've got your Kokedama without a hanger, but it'll definitely sit flat. So we'll continue on in a sec. So now I want to talk to you about a bit of Kokedama care. Now with the actual Kokedama we made today, because the soil was already wet and the sphagnum moss was already moist, it wouldn't have actually needed a drink. You don't want to overwater plants when they first go into them because they can get root rot. However, here's another one that we've got that's normally hanging around the house, and it's been about a week since we've watered him. So the way that we would actually water these, I'm going to show you below, it's just with a bucket. You could also do it in a sink as well, so I'll quickly show you. Just pop him in there, being careful of the actual plant. So it hopefully will start bubbling. So what you'll actually do is just wait for the bubbles to stop. Then the soil will be fully saturated and you'll have a happy plant. Great, so you can see the bubbles have actually become a bit more infrequent. So that's after being in there for about a minute. So yeah, the larger the ball, the longer you'll have to leave it in there because it's got a little bit more soil and more sphagnum moss. But yeah, about a minute. You've got to hold it under the water. If you don't, then it won't fully get saturated. And yeah, during summer, maybe once a week. You can just wait till the actual balls dry out fully. That's the best time to give them a soak. In winter time, it's much less frequent, so yeah, maybe monthly, so a lot less anyway, so a bit less upkeep on them in the winter time. But yeah, that's the way that we've found is the easiest to actually take care of these plants. The other thing that they do need is light. It doesn't have to be direct light, and some of the plants won't actually like direct light. Just make sure they're getting at least 6 hours a day of light. So whether you've got that on a windowsill or outside, possibly even, we've got ours under shade cloths, a lot of them, so that they don't get a lot of direct light. But yeah, as long as they get that light, then you'll have a beautiful healthy plant. So once you've actually given your Kokedama a good soaking, you will need to ensure that that is actually drip dry. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can just leave it outside to dry. You can also squeeze them and you'll see that stuff will come out. I mean, if you don't mind a bit of water getting on things, then you could just put that straight back inside depending on where you have it. The other option, if you do want to have it inside but be a bit more careful, just grab a saucer and essentially you can just sit the Kokedama in that, as long as it's got a flat base, and it should take maybe a couple of hours to dry and you'll be ready to hang it back up again.
So thanks for joining us, guys. Gareth will be throwing up another video just on how to also add in the little hanger there.
Yeah, that's right. It'll just be a little hanger for it, so you can put it up on hooks. But yeah, it was fun. I hope a bit of a challenge.
Beautiful little Kokedama. Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure, if you did like the content, definitely hit that subscribe button, or shoot us a like. It all helps. And yeah, we'll be coming back to you very, very soon with another really fun video.
See you guys.
Bye.